Yeah, we did that at the first of the year, I do believe, right after the first.
Did it in
Yeah.
September.
Yeah.
September for school year.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I should probably sit over there and say.
We'll go ahead and call this council public hearing to order. The topic is considering renaming Mill Street in the Riverfront District, and I'm gonna turn it over to our city planner, David Gretchen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is not something we do very often at all. So it's kind of fun and interesting compared to some of the stuff we get to do. So we have this portion of a street that is next to 330 South First. The street there is illustrated. Historically, it's been called Mill Street. Mill Street is already used. That's something that Columbia 911 likes us to avoid, duplicate names. And really it's opportunity to have a more interesting name than Mill Street. One thing we do know is we would want to name it Way, given normal street naming conventions, which is similar to John Gunn Way, just a few blocks from here. Oregon Revised Statutes provides the method for renaming streets, and it starts with a review and recommendation from the Planning Commission. And so, and with the Planning Commission, we gave them some of the feedback we had from the council initially. And they came up with 4 names for your recommendation list. One was Nellie Way. Nellie is the wife of one of the McCormick brothers. Wapama Way. Wapama is the name of a historical renowned ship built here. Keel Way. Keel is simply, one element of a ship. And Kaleva, might be mispronouncing that way. That was related to a hotel that was in the area. Now, when I produced this memo, I hadn't had response from Columbia 911. Whatever name we pick, we want to make sure it's blessed by Columbia 911. I did finally get that on Monday. So Nellie, Wapama, Keel, Kaleva. And not surprisingly, I assumed this would happen. Nellie was something that they were concerned about because there's multiple possible spellings, so they wanted to avoid that. Kaleva, how it's pronounced. They said consider avoiding because it's difficult to pronounce, and it could be different spellings, K versus C. But Wapama and Keel both had the full blessing from Columbia 911. Now, you are not obligated to select one of those names. You could come up with something else, and we want to make sure we have opportunity for testimony since this is a public hearing as well. So that's really the foundation. Les Waters, the museum curator, has been kind enough to put some slides together just to show us the history. And I would ask that he be allowed to talk about some of the additional slides which are a part of the memo, if you will, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, absolutely. Wes?
Okay, well, I think this looks a lot like it did the last time we talked about this, but just to go through, this is kind of a look at where you are and where the street is in relationship to that.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm hard to see in the little.
Yeah, you want to.
I couldn't see the little arrow.
Oh,
Just tell me when to move.
okay. Again, this is just a fire map that shows the colors of the buildings, the same area, and see what was there at the time. And you can see in relationship to Mill Street. So the point is a historic area in early St. Helens history. The next one. This one just points out that it kind of moved around a little bit, but it also shows you the proximity to the mill and the how close Mill 3 was. Part of it, and next to the shipbuilding offices that was right next to it. has the connection to the ships. And just a vintage picture here showing where Mill Street is. There's the Caliba Hotel, which is one of the names that was suggested. The McCormick office, that would be Nellie, which is also recommended. Yeah, another view of it. Again, this shows how in the middle of activity it was with the mill operation. And another more recent view for those that you know, that's the veneer plant in the left foreground. And there's the house that's still there, the street. This is no longer there, but this was the McCormick offices, and it was the shipbuilding office as well as the office for their other lumber activities. They're sitting on a keel that's been created at the mill site, and so that's Hamlin McCormick and Nellie McCormick are two of the four sitting there. Here's laying of a keel, and this was across the river. That's Nellie. And that's the Caliba Hotel, which was just across the street. And this one isn't in the running anymore, but this is the Arcadia Hotel. And that was Mother I, as she was known, is Isbister. These were some of the names that I thought might be considered from historic perspective. And then finally, this was more information about the Wapama and just a look at how it looked and what a actually beautiful ship it was. So any of the names would be fine. I think that would fit within the historic context that we would like to see. Do you have any questions about any of this?
So the Wapama was built here? No. Okay. I wasn't here for your presentation.
Oh, that's right, you were.
That's right.
So, can we go a couple slides back? I just wanted to see,
The Caliba.
just trying to read what this federal.
Oh.
In the house.
Yeah, and so there is, yeah, so there were a lot of aspects to this hotel.
Yeah.
That's right.
I see the federal.
We were. It was a working man's hotel. It
Yeah,
wasn't the only one, and it wasn't the only one where,
Yeah.
I mean, the St. Helens Hotel, you know, you had to pay extra if you didn't have any bags to check.
yeah.
So, it was of the time. But it was there and it's,
Yeah.
with a big presence. of-
I caught my eye and.
Yeah, that was there. We try to, you know, represent all of it.
That's right.
Leave St. Helens, stay out.
Yeah, yeah, I know, that is funny. Okay, yeah. I don't have any other questions, I think it's pretty cool to see the history of St. Helens here. Coming back to Kathy, one more time, not all the way back, but a couple more into it, yeah. Yeah, go that way, right there. So this is where this.
That's where we are, right? And that's where Mill Street
This
is.
is Mill right here?
No, it's circled there. Under
It's circled.
Here,
Oh, okay.
and this is Aaron's house right here.
Cigars and what? There's a.
Billiards.
Cigar Billiards.
Art billiards. There was a theater there, vaudeville theater. I think it shows up in a later map. These are really interesting maps because they give you a real sense of what was going on at a particular time.
Sure.
Interesting.
That looks like an electric, some type of electric air shop. It's probably honored for its time.
We can't read it from here, but behind the St. Helens Hotel, there's two buildings there. One of them was a bathhouse at one time.
Let's see, fire department, schoolroom, it's like it says something schoolroom. Over here. Huh.
If I could chime in for just a second, hi Les. My favorite out of the ones that were the four that were presented was Nelly Way. It sounds like that's one that's not favorable, but I would like to propose another one, and that would be Lope Way, Lope. So historically, that house that's still down there that is owned by the Salisbury, that is known as the Lope House. The Lope family lived there for many years, so I just thought that would be another one that might be good to consider.
I liked McCormick, but everyone was like, we have too many things named McCormick, but I didn't know Nelly was in there, so.
Yeah, so Nelly, the McCormick manifested into Nelly. And there was some discussion with the planning commission about having place names that were feminine rather than masculine.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, call me 911.
Are we doing public comment?
Yes, yeah, we can do that now if you would like.
Yeah, let's do that now. Thank you, Les, very much. Yes,
Great information. Thank you so much for sharing.
yeah. Let's go ahead and,
What time?
yeah, 3 minutes if we can. Please.
I don't have that much to say.
Okay,
Brief, I've been in this room before.
yes.
I,
Name for the record.
Jeannie Carlson, I had, served on the planning commission. My opinions were not appreciated by the planning commission, so I made up my mind right then to bring it here. I think that we spend a lot of time looking back, and I would like to see this body look forward. And be more progressive, not progressive in a bad way, but be thinking about the progress. This is a brand new development. This is a gateway to the biggest thing this group will ever do. And so instead of looking in the rearview mirror, just driving around them last week, I've seen so many things in Portland, in Salem, named McCormick, because they were so important, such an important family. And so maybe we can look to this future and look at something that says more about where we're going as opposed to where we've been. You know, because at the end of the day, all that whole thing will be all new down there and nobody's gonna know who any of these names are. It's not gonna mean anything to anybody. You know, and I think about when you name a street, you're naming it for your kids' kids. And it's like, you know, those streets are names last forever, essentially. And so I had brought up, I know engineering had mentioned Pumpkin Way, and I thought that was a little too on the nose for me. But I had thought about just in the quick and planning commission heard it, I thought, you know, Twilight is an easy name, it's easy to pronounce, it's easy to spell, and only people that are from here would make the connection to the movie. And then somebody pointed out that one of the film sites is directly adjacent to that street, so I've never studied the Twilight movie myself, I just like the name Twilight Way, but I just would like you to consider modern, inclusive, equitable names. Whatever it is, be it a nod to equity, be it a nod to inclusive, a nod to the future, instead of always looking at the back. Name one more thing Chinook, one more thing McCormick, one more thing Salmon, it's like enough. You know, we can name it Duckway, I'd be good with that. You know, something that,
Sorry.
but you know, something that speaks to the waterfront, something that speaks to our community, something that really puts your mark on the future, because Mayor Scholl, I don't remember how many years you've served, but this body, this is a big thing, and this is a mark that lasts forever. That sign will be out there and they will know that you took part in naming the street. So definitely put a lot of thought into what it is it something that's lost and forgotten, or is it part of the future? So that's just my thought. I was not fond of any of the names proposed. So that's why I came down here to encourage you guys to open your minds and open your thoughts to maybe going a little different way.
Thanks, Jenny.
Real quick, Commissioner Carlson,
After we get that voted.
do you have any other suggestions besides Twilight Way?
I just had thought in the era of inclusion, just the amount of things, you know, the Nelly was definitely appealing to me because it was a pioneer.
Sure.
You know, but if there's an easier name for a pioneer woman in our community that spells better.
I know that there was kind of a a push to get like that email
To really
perspective.
stand up to stand for something.
Right,
Stand for something to say that we have drawn a line and we're saying we're not going back there anymore. Women own a place at the table.
Mhm.
And so I think that that's something that would resonate with the community. Would resonate would say that we're not part of the Good Old Boys Club, we're part of the Good Old Communities Club. Everybody's here. So that was just to have something that meant something in your heart and your mind.
My name is Brady Crean. So I actually like the idea that you want to name it after a woman. I just think you picked the wrong woman. I think we should call it Tina Way. It's about the future.
I knew it.
And I think that she has brought a lot of activity to this town.
Even red tape back there.
And I think that I think it's a great idea. I think it's easy to pronounce. We don't have one. And it's about the future. And frankly, Halloween Town has become a big thing thanks to her. And so I personally would like to see it named after a woman and one that's been probably the most influential one so far to the city. And I think that's a great name. If you don't pick that, my other suggestion would be Swan Way, which is a tie on the Ducks theme, and also nautical and also part of Twilight, Bella Swan. So, but I think Tina Way is the best one. Thank you.
All right. On up. Aaron?
I cannot believe how nicely Brady teed me up on this.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Erin Salisbury. I am the property owner with my husband of the only standing building on that street. And I think I'm just shocked nobody's considered naming it Erin's Way. You know, maybe Tina and I could arm wrestle for it. I would like to echo that, I'd love to name it for a woman. I was not at the planning commission meeting. I didn't have the planning commission reach out to me about whether I had thoughts or not on it, and that's okay. I would love to have it be something that's pronounced. I will also say that the Twilight theme names, I almost weekly I catch someone taking a photo of that house. That house was the bloated toad cafe in the first Twilight movie. It's the scene, and I'd never seen the movie before we bought the house. It's the scene where they have their first romantic dinner between Bella and Edward. He doesn't eat anything because he's a vampire.
Yeah.
But we have had a steady stream of folks that come just to take a photo of the house. And yes, we do have an economic driver in this community that has been based around kind of our Halloween town, our Twilight, and perhaps there will be future films in years to come. It might be nice to have a nod to that. I'm not opposed to a historic name. I just kind of hope it's something that I can stomach writing on. And right now it is 330 South First Street, but if I can get around to it, I'm hoping that someday I have an apartment in the basement that probably will mean that doorway is facing on that street. So it would be nice to have it be a palatable name that whoever then also decides to develop a lot across the street likes the sound of. So I'm just wondering if there's an urgency about doing this naming now, or if perhaps there's a chance to let this gel. I mean, it is fun to be able to name a street, but I'm just wondering if we've really had everybody at the table to have the conversation in terms of looking at perhaps there are some other native names and some peoples that we could reach out to that aren't normally at the table when we talk about place names, but that's going to take a little time to set up. And so thank you for listening. I do hope that maybe we can I'm not a fan of Keel Way. I'm not a big fan of Wapama. But you will make a good decision regardless. It's just a little tiny street.
Thank you, Erin.
Loop Way. Loop,
Aaron's Way.
Loop is the people that own your house.
And Aaron's Way.
Loop is the people that own your house.
I actually, loop or lope. I'd love to know more about that. I've never heard.
L,
I think.
but it's LOOP, right? Is that how it's spelled?
Low PE.
I'd love to know more about that story. I've never heard that story, so. About the lopes.
Any other public comment? Anybody on Zoom? Well, you all, I didn't realize that there was that much fascination with the little one-way street that'll be there. And I get the significance of, you know, it's gonna be there forever. Well, when I seen, you said it had to be way, I'm thinking in my mind, well, yeah, it's one way. So maybe it's just.
So you want to leave it one way? Maybe with like a dummy though or another way.
You know, you said it had to be way. I knew it was a one-way street.
Well, I mean, that's the recommendation.
Yeah.
If the council was, we want it to be avenue or something like that. You know, that's what we'll do, but based on standard naming conventions, way is appropriate.
Jacob, the council doesn't see these very often because it's a public street, right? It's not the typical developer fashion where developer kind of picks their internal streets in a subdivision and then turns it over for the city's acceptance.
Is there a time crunch about naming this road?
Well, so this came up, I was sitting in my office doing my normal stuff, type, call, talk. And then Jenny and Alex walk in. And they say, we need the street signs, what do we do? Like, oh, yeah, I kind of remember doing this, so, okay, well, this is what we need to do. So it's all about figuring out what the street signs are gonna be for the development project. The project will go on for a while. I can't personally testify the timing urgency. I would guess that another 2 weeks or a month won't necessarily hurt things because the project will continue. But I think there is kind of a middle ground of waiting too long just because of the project. But it's really just about ordering the right street signs.
It's tough because most of our streets are named around history, Lamont, Mont Street. And, we can go on and on and on out there. I understand what Jenny brought forward about forward thinking, but I look at these pictures in that presentation and I think, man, that's great right there. Those guys got it done back in the day. Look at how it was bustling. Look how much work was going on in this community. Paycheck town. You know, it need to be called
Paycheck Way.
Paycheck Way. It was the paycheck town. You know, they had it going on. They were building ships down here. They were cutting ballasts off the cliff right here. Rock. But then in there to ballast the ships. They were working down in Columbia City. They were working up here. They were working all over the place right here.
Yeah, and I personally think that that's, it's important to keep history alive, and sometimes we do that with naming things, and I understand thinking forward too, so I'm not opposed to that, but I like naming roads after historical things, because yeah, someday someone's not gonna know who they are, but maybe some kid will be curious about it. That's my view.
You look at that, you go back and you look at those buildings that were there, and that said money. I mean, there was a little bit of everything. From cigars to brothel, to ships, to lumber, to keels being built, to everything, you know.
Suggesting brothel.
No, I'm not suggesting. brothel.
Paycheck City Way,
Paycheck Way.
Paycheck Way.
I don't know. That's kind of goofy, but you know, I know there's some history there that should describe all people, not just single the single, and I get the history of what was actually in that area. It should really represent all, if we're going that far back, what did St. Helens mean to people back then?
Waterway.
What did St. Helens mean to people back then?
We don't need any more ideas. We have enough ideas to.
We were deemed to be Portland. Port of call was here. The mail stopped here. It didn't go up to Portland. This was the port of call. That's how busy this place was. Am I correct, Les? Partly?
I speak.
Mayor asked you to speak, you could speak.
Well, no, I just, that's,
Honestly, not quite.
okay. That's what I've heard from some people that said we were a port of call, which meant where the mail stopped here.
So early on in the 1850s, it was the Pacific Coast or the Pacific Steamship Line, a mail steamship line that had its dock here. And that was, Portland wanted that. It was important. Eventually they got it. So that was kind of St. Helens' first real significance, if you will, as far as navigation and traffic contact with the outside world. For the early settlers, but it didn't take long till Portland surpassed St. Helens. So, but the point you made, payroll town and lots of the jobs is accurate. It's always up until recent history was very successful in providing jobs, working class jobs for decades.
Again, it sounds like we don't have to make a decision today, we have some more dialect, I'm just entering this, you know.
And there's we have to have deliberations.
You know, Jessica's gonna also say, I would like to see a poll on Facebook, because you guys know I'm always put polls, but I think that's how a lot of people jump in with feedback, so. Got Crystal here, Crystal, can you hook me up with a poll? Can make any poll you want, parameters.
I think it's a good idea.
I think polls are.
Don't forget though that a new Royal Navy ship that was built was people of Great Britain were asked to name the ship, and it was a poll, and the winning winning Royal Navy ship was it something McBoatface? Bodie McBoatface.
But they pledged to go by the top vote, but I think there will be.
So make sure we have parameters that it's not.
Yes, there you go, there's a.
So anyway, but yes, we do.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, we don't.
Eliciting additional input for what, and having.
Maybe Twilight would be the most, like. What do you think?
I think it's an idea, we could. Get 4 or 5 multiple choice and see, I mean, it's an idea.
Are you looking at general topics of like, do you want historical, do you want movie, do you want modern? I guess that can be.
Right now we have, I don't know, 5 or 6
We had,
options.
we
Just-
had Heel,
So, yeah, so if we go back, so we started off with the recommendations from Planning Commission, Nellie Way, Wapama Way, Keel Way, Kaliba Way. Nellie, Columbia 911 was sour on, Kaliba, they were also sour on, that leaves Wapama and Keel from the Planning Commission group. And then what I've heard tonight was Loop, Twilight, Tina, Swan.
That's fun. That's it.
And then, you know, you can add more to the group if you want to put that out, but as Councilor Berkeley pointed out, we do have deliberations for this at the regular session.
I don't know if we're ready to deliberate is what we're saying.
I mean, we could deliberate, our deliberation could be what we're doing right now to.
you pick 5 names and then go further.
We'll come back, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys, but the polls, I mean, it's helpful.
Well,
Say that.
But we do that.
I definitely know, that it's interesting to hear all the different, opinions on what it should be. Twilight, Heel, Loop, which is LOPE. We have family there.
I'd like to see Nelly on there. I know one does.
Well, so. The name needs to be blessed by Columbia 911. If they're sour on it. Then we don't want to use it because we want to make sure it's a name that they bless for emergency response purposes. And so they consider the name and whether or not it would replicate another name in the county. Or be confusing for some reason. And unfortunately, they were sour on it.
Her nickname was Nell, if that helps.
And we could potentially throw that back at but potentially a way to utilize your deliberations is to determine at least the tentative list if you're wanting to cast that net again for feedback. Then at least we have a body of suggestions to work with.
Well, I appreciate that showing up here today and sounds like you've been working on this a little bit, so. Definitely, you think about a couple different names, Wampet, Wapama, and Keel. That's pretty impressive, those size of those keels in the ship that was the Wapama. Yeah, so I like that. And we have a picture of it. I mean, I know it's not futuristic, but boy, that's pretty cool looking steamship there. So,
On display somewhere.
it was probably, when we think about it, actually has the Keel name in it. It has probably the Nelly McCormick's, because McCormick were the ones building it. I'm sure maybe somebody from the Lope House may work in the area or touch something that went on that ship. Probably covers just about every aspect of what was down there and the people that put it together. That got the paychecks. Just throwing that out there. That's my vote, will comment. Okay, any other public comment? Not seeing any. I'm gonna go ahead and close because we have another public hearing. We'll start We'll give Kathy about 3 minutes here to of North 11th Street right of way and Wyatt Street right of way. The 200 and 300 series of addresses of 12th and 11th Street generally lying east of the middle school property, city of St. Helens, and I will go ahead and turn it over to our city manager, J.F. Gretchen.
Hopefully this matter is non-controversial enough that the meeting goes quicker than the reading the title. So this is a right-of-way vacation. We see these every once in a while where we eliminate the right-of-way and it returns back to private control or public control if the owner is public. This is a vacation based on council motion rather than petition, so someone didn't need to go out and get a bunch of signatures within the affected area of the vacation, which I won't get into. Just this is based on the council's motion. And just to orient you very quickly on this, Kathy, if you can go to that first slide, please. Thank you very much. So I think most of you know where the middle school is at. You can see it labeled on the map, and this is a bluff feature just to the east of that. And if you look in between the middle school and the bluff, you'll see 11th and 12th where it kind of S curves in there. That's important because there's a couple other things that we asked the planning commission about. And that we'll talk about some right-of-way dedication in there briefly. So that's where we're at in the world. If we zoom in a little bit closer to the property, the areas highlighted in yellow shows property owned by the city of St. Helens. You see that weird stripe down the middle, like what's going on there? And that's the right of way that we're proposing to vacate or return to city ownership. And the reason we're doing that, we own it now, there's no proposed use, but it's something good to take care of now. It's been on my to-do list for several years and it finally rose to the top. Kind of nice when that happens. The next slide, this is zoning. I put this up here because I asked the planning commission about whether we should be proactive on rezoning the property as part of the effort. You see, some of it has that plan development overlay that allows some development flexibility, and it's also split zoned. And there was really no consensus with the planning commission. There was some comments on it's just better to wait, see until we have a user, developer, or something like that. And so that told me, well, I'm not going to be very motivated on rezoning it just because there wasn't a lot of desire from them. But we wanted to check with them. So the next slide gets us to what we're specifically talking about today. The purple is the area we're proposing to vacate. So essentially, we're adding the filling to the Oreo cookie. Right now, the filling's not there. We're adding it. But we are taking a bite out of the Oreo, and that is the red. Right now, that's not dedicated right of way. And actually that was probably a higher priority for me to dedicate that as right of way before we sell it, someone else takes it, however it happens. Just it's way cleaner for that to be taken care of. The planning commission did recommend dedication of that. Normally the street would be in a right of way, but because of the topography, they ended up building it there, and it's had different ownerships over the years. We finally own everything around there, so we can easily dedicate it. Next slide just looks a little bit closer at that street dedication, just if you want to.
So at one time, that portion of the street was owned by a private individual. Is what you're telling me.
Yeah, there was some, the county owned it for some tax foreclosures.
Yeah.
And then, this bluff.
Yeah.
It was, we bought it from a private individual
Yes.
and it was in there. And sometimes people can be persnickety about right-of-way dedications, and that's why it's good to take care of it now. It eliminates that persnicketyness that could potentially happen. Planning Commission reviewed it. They recommended approval of the vacation and the right-of-way dedication. So we've gone through all the busy work, and this is the public hearing for questions from the council as well as any testimony from the public if there is such out there. So
Any questions for Jacob? Okay, any public comment?
Can you show me what parks you're planning to take away and where the houses are around that?
yeah, sure. Kathy, if you could back up a little bit. Probably the first slide, because there's less shading in there. Yeah, so. I'm gonna move this just for. All right, so here's what the city owns. And then if you're going up 12, there's the S curve, and then you have the sports field here. You do have some multifamily development right here, and the area to be vacated, you can see the street here, you just connect those dots. The swath, the right of way to be returned to private property ownership is right in here. So you do have some houses right here. You have one over here, and then you have a bunch there. And some of the vacation is in this area, so there are some houses close by. I don't know, one of those is yours.
Yeah, I'm at 304. I think this is me right here. So that's a big part of where I'm at.
Yeah, so Kathy, if you could, so you probably saw the little sign I posted.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. It was just a sign and not given to all the neighbors around. No one could see it. And there's so many sticker bushes, no one could get to it. So, yeah, so most people don't know that this is happening, unfortunately.
And if the council wants to delay it and send notice out, you know, we can do that. So if the one with the purple shading. Yeah. So if this is your house here.
Yeah.
This is your side property line. Right now, this is just right away. And so that the property line would just extend about to the halfway mark. This is that power pole here.
Yeah.
And then take a bend down this way. And so this would no longer be a public right of way, which means if someone let's say we sold this. Someone, well, I want to try to put a street through here. That right of way enables that. Taking this away, someone can still rededicate it. But it does create an obstacle to punching a new street through there in a sense. And then over here, this is just dedicating for the purposes of the existing street.
So you're not taking any physical structure out, you're not taking the rock out, you're not doing any of that.
No,
Okay, I want to make sure that isn't happening, because that's already, maybe we've been to those meetings in the past.
No, yeah. Yeah, she was a good set, that we call it.
Thank
Jacob-
God.
we call it Jacob's stuff, because
Okay.
he thought Blinding was his name.
Yeah,
And that's why.
That's terrible.
that Dedication of right of way there, I was like, if he would have, had that,
yeah,
it might have been a whole different,
right, a whole different story.
yeah.
So it's just making it so that that can't be used, no one can throw a street in there, really
Not
no.
that it can't be used, but it's just, but more likely it won't be, because it's a hole right there.
Yeah,
Yes, but it's mainly the top section of the right of way coming through the upper
okay,
bluff.
okay,
yeah,
We're not.
That's the city's intent, is the upper.
No.
okay.
so I think something that would help you is understanding, well, why is the right of way there in the first place?
Yeah.
What's going on? So, and this has to do with the way things used to be. Where they just put on a blindfold and that's how planning was. They just kind of grew stuff all over the place. I'll explain that a little bit better though. So in St. Helens, what they used to do is they would plat the city. And a lot of cities were based on grids. So, okay, here there's lots, here's the grids. And that worked in a lot of places, but when you have topography, rocks, creeks. That grid doesn't always make a lot of sense. And in fact, that's why you don't have 11th Street going through here,
Well,
or 12, yeah, it's
Yeah.
11, sorry.
yes, yes.
dyslexia. Because it's a cliff.
Right, I can't.
Right now, we don't have cars that drive vertically, someday it may.
Yeah.
And so the reason we, the city bought this property, because he still owned it, the guy who proposed that, he came back, he sat down with myself, Jacob and John, and said, I have actually went back, he lost Toluba. And he said, I am going to actually left this little sliver of rock over here where there's a wetland, and he had redrawn it up, and he wanted to get the plotted lots that he was showing the city streets here. And he wanted to go 7 feet below Jackass Canyon. We're like, you can't just take it down like maybe 10, 15, nope, 7 feet below. I need big crawl spaces. And then he said, or you can buy it. And literally the city went through about, 6 figures at least of legal fees, fighting it the first time, and your time. And Jenny was on council at that point in time too. And he said, well, why don't you buy it from me? And so we ended up buying it just to get rid of that big, long discussion again.
Yeah.
Finding and say us.
And we did, as a result of that, yeah, that was pretty brutal case.
Yeah,
And we revised our laws to make it clearer where mining is allowed or not because of that case. So we strengthened our laws for it. Now, it does. So that grid just didn't make sense here. And so state law has a provision where you can get rid of those rights of way. A right of way is typically where streets and utilities and stuff like that are. It does help facilitate potential future development because that's no longer an obstacle, but we don't have any, I'm not aware of any discussions that the council's had about that property.
Yeah. No, and the only thing I could ever see maybe going up through there would be sewer or something like that because of maybe a fall. That was part of his complaint that made sense, was taking down some of that for the sewer came up so rapidly.
oh, yeah.
And we're like, well, if you took off 20 feet, you can make it work. Nope, gotta be 7 feet.
Basically, what this is gonna do is make those 2 pieces whole.
Yep.
So it's just one square.
Okay.
I appreciate you showing up. It's nothing like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my grandmother went through a lot back then.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Yes, it
a
was.
nightmare, and I'm surprised I survived it.
And I didn't catch your name for the record, just so we can,
Andrea Cullen.
okay, you get that, Kathy?
Do you have any more specific questions?
I don't think so. No, I mean, it's not really changing much. It's,
Cullen? It changes it on paper.
right, but not
I mean,
anything physical
That's correct.
at the moment. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I just did my backyard. I have a great private backyard and I was thinking, something gonna change. I don't want it to change.
If you look at the assessor map, yes, physically.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, any other public comment on the street vacation? Any on Zoom? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn this hearing. Give Kathy 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and fire off. Okay, we'll call this council regular session to order. It is April 5th. Time is 7:06 PM. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up for visitor comments, and please keep it limited to 3 minutes or less, and we will take those if needed. We will get back to you.
Shouldn't invite me, because now I'm putting crazy on you. I just am noticing more and more.
Name for the record.
Oh, Jenny Carlson, I was here earlier. Just, I'm noticing more this time of year that, kind of derelict. Crummy looking houses that that exist in this community, houses that are burnt out and left as places for people to congregate. And do unsavory things after hours, like the burn that happened on Fifth and Wyatt. That triplex burned a while ago, and that house sits there, and beer cans and beer bottles and all kinds of stuff. You know, end up, and kids will find places to hide and do bad things, and I just am concerned because there's a lot of people that live around here and they're living alone, and I just want them to feel safe. And I know that you have a nuisance law, but I guess burnt out houses don't qualify for a nuisance. When people don't cut their grass, you pick on them for cutting their grass. When people have too many stuff in their front yard, they get in trouble, but you can leave a burnt out house sit there indefinitely. So I just wanted to encourage the council just to think about livability for all of our citizens. And just kind of apply that litmus test to all of our streets, because you know, just because you don't live in a nice neighborhood doesn't mean that the streets in your neighborhood shouldn't be at least somewhat reasonable. People out staff in the winter time, yards look pretty crummy, but it'd be nice to burn out old houses. If people that own them were required to really board them up and clean them up or demolish them or something. Make a decision, even if it's wrong. That's just, you know, as we're cleaning up for spring, to just make sure we're doing that. And if there's any way, I don't know if you guys are gonna be doing spring clean up on the waterfront this year. It's been done a lot of years, but I don't know with the Shedco's now something else with a different mission, if that will even happen. That's all I got.
All right, any visitor comments?
I have my hand up on Zoom.
Okay, hold on, let me get Brady out of the way here.
So, today is. Today is April 5th, as you probably know. Today, my mom would be 80. It's also only 40 years till first contact day, where law can show up in Montana. April 5th, 2063. So we only have 40 years to wait. First contact day, when Balkans first make contact.
I got it.
40 years, we only have 40 years to wait.
Like, what?
Live the
I got it.
And if you want to start back online, you can go reenact that right now. You can go play it. But also, and I'm not really sure how this happens. I see my name is on here, so thank you for coming to the budget committee. I look forward to seeing the contributing member. People call me and congratulated me, and I'm like, I didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I guess it's premature. But thank you. I look forward to doing that. And then the last thing I wanted to comment on, and it's not on the agenda, so I don't know if you're really doing it, but I saw parts of the afternoon session about leash law. I'm obviously opposed to that. I think that our existing laws about animals at large are adequate. And I think that if you are going to pass a new law, that you need more deliberation than that you've had. And I think frankly, it should be a public hearing. Right now, there are lots of people who use the waterfront and do not have their dogs leashed. And my hope is that at some point in time, there is an off leash area in that area. And it's being used that way. But again, if you're going to pass that kind of a law, I do think that You're gonna have more deliberation and more public comment before you decide to make a decision. And at a minimum, it should be on your agenda so that people have an opportunity to come in the comment. It shouldn't be something that's not on your agenda that you make the decision on. Thank you.
All right, okay, we'll go to Zoom now.
Good evening. Steve Toskey, citizen of St. Helens. I tuned into the council work session and wanted to address the council's head nod regarding communications. I agree that any communications that purport to be from the city of St. Helens or on behalf of the city of St. Helens should be authorized by the city of St. Helens before they are made, and then only by persons authorized to state them. I've sent to Kathy Payne for inclusion in the public record the newspaper article in question, which I believe is the source of concern. I invite all of you and every citizen in the city to read it carefully. After the joint planning city council meeting, contacted the press to inform the public that the city and the planning commission were working on how to address HB 3115. I wanted to bring to the public's attention this important and complicated issue. My goal was public awareness and public involvement. The article paints a very positive picture of the collaboration between the planning commission and the council on this. Any opinions expressed in the article are clearly stated as my own. At no point did I speak for the city, the council, any council member, the mayor, staff, or the planning commission. The article was mostly factual. I received a lot of positive feedback from people who otherwise were not aware that the issue was moving forward in our government and in city governments throughout the state. I look forward to continuing to working in a collaborative effort to achieve the best result for all citizens of St. Helens. Sometimes we may not all be on the same page at the same time. It's important that the public has a chance to weigh in on issues that are made. I'm happy to provide a copy to any of you of the article at your request. Thank you again for all of your efforts to be in our citizen.
Thank you. Okay, other visitor comments? You're not hearing any? Okay, deliberations on considering renaming Mill Street in the Riverfront District. So there was quite a bit of discussion on this earlier. We have multiple names. How is everybody feeling about this? I'm gonna want to wait and. I mean, currently there's no residency on the unnamed street, so it's not vitally important until there is development sparked on that there be a street name, correct?
Yeah, it's just ordering the right street signs.
Yeah. And it's just one sign, I mean, they're talking about ordering signs, but it's just one sign.
Well, and Jacob was saying that it would be nice to have it done with the work that's already going on over there, though. Right, Jacob?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Go ahead.
One is the street.
Year and a half.
It's likely to go in with development. We're putting utilities right now. They're-
Right, that's what I think, that, because right now.
It's going in now, yeah,
Huh?
street's going in.
Not going-
But
Oh,
it's not going in anytime soon.
year and a half.
The mouth of the street,
Yeah, they'll do the.
the mouth of the street, so the street signs and stuff like that.
Where the street sign goes.
Project.
Okay.
But it could just be a sign that could be bolted on later.
But, you know, delay for a month. I'm not as in tune with that project schedule. So the people that are worrying about it, but I assume that another 2 weeks or a month would not work things.
Yeah, so, no, I'm glad that, so, I like the idea of historical connection. I think just because we're naming things historically doesn't mean we're, or historical connections mean that we're stuck in the past. But without what has happened in the past, there is no now or future. So that, just because we name something that has historical, it doesn't mean we're not forward thinking. Not downplaying the contributions that Tina has made with Halloween Town and some of our other activities, but I just have I do not really believe in naming public facilities for living people. Earl Blumenauer, Congressman Earl Blumenauer just had a pedestrian overpass named after him and stuff like that. I've just never been one who believes in for people who are currently among us. But I do like the idea of having some connection to recognizing the contribution of women in our history. I like the Nellie Way, but maybe the Nell Way, I don't know. I like that. And I also like very much the Wapama, because it does connect all kinds of things going on that have gone on in the history. And if people don't know what those things mean, there's an educational opportunity. I used to say we can't be putting QR codes at every intersection. If people can walk by with their iPhone and, hey, what's the name of the street? What's the history behind it? Okay, there we go, Nell Way, Nellie McCormick. So that kind of thing is a way of educating people about the past while we honor what's going on in the future. So I don't think we need to make a decision now. I think why not solicit some other points of view, but I'm leaning towards the historical, to the historical.
I'm curious to see what Mark thinks too. Keep going, I'm just all over the place, really.
I do like to nod to the shipbuilding facility, given the location. I do kind of like the Wapama Way. I also see Twilight Way working. I see that, and what are you looking at me like that for?
I'm just
I would.
Are you Twilight?
Not at all.
Okay. That's the option. Right.
But I think you're.
Say something.
I also agree with Patrick that, having it named after prominent females or from the past would be a nice thing to look into. And maybe it can't be Nellie Way, but maybe it can be something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my lens is that if this were a private development and there was a street required on our master plan to connect from point A to point B, the onus would be on the developer to come up with a name that was acceptable to the city, and that they propose it, and if it's all right, we do it. It's and whatever, this.
This pretty.
It's not, nothing accesses on it right now, but in the future, that development block will have an access. More than likely from that, in that investment in that building, which could be significant, could be millions of dollars. Will have an address associated with that building, and
Gloria,
and that.
so you know John Walsh is getting ready to take bids. 1,000, 2,000, 2,000.
So.
Not ethical.
I guess the beauty of that is that if you wait for a developer to see what their thoughts are, you're still in the driver's seat as far as it's still going to be a public connection, and still have kind of veto power over that.
Yeah.
Just my thoughts. It might be important to the developer too. Making that pretty significant.
Developers get to name streets all the time, okay? Fair. We want to name streets.
just about.
And I do like, a lot of the things proposed are pretty nice. Future looking historic, all that.
I mean, I really like Nelly Way or Nell Way, but I also like the idea of asking the community. We don't have a lot of opportunities to let people chime in on things like this. So I propose that we do an online survey with maybe 4 or 5 names, 5 tops. Very selective down to like 5 names, not topics, but names. And then maybe we take that into consideration at our next council meeting and make a decision.
Councilor Sunday?
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I like the idea of community feedback. That's how Columbia View Park got its name. A survey went out and somebody picked the name Columbia View Park. So it can definitely be promising. I appreciate the nod to history because that is such a historical area. There's a lot of important things that happened to St. Helens right down in that area. And I agree with what was stated earlier, that just because we're looking back and appreciating the past doesn't mean that we're not looking forward and preparing and planning for the future. I know it's come up a few times, and one of the proposed names was naming the street after a prominent Native American chief. I think that's a great idea. My only thoughts against that was because that is such a small and right now rather insignificant street that I would rather save something like that for something more important or more prominent in our city. I know we've talked about renaming a creek or something bigger for that. So I don't want to overthink it too much just because it is a fairly small street. But I do appreciate the nod to history and like the options that we've got so far.
I just like the name Wapama because of the fact that there was probably multiple residents that touched hands, built that, multiple businesses that supplied supplies to build that ship. It's a product of St. Helens that left here. And beautiful ship. And could be some type of history with a beautiful name down the waterfront, you know, I mean, we talk about the history along the boardwalk. And Native B1, but shipbuilding was a big part of what was all down here. So that was in thinking about just what did St. Helens mean back then, and it was people with raw determination that it was paycheck town. Well, that paycheck town built a beautiful ship. And obviously the most beautiful ship, the best known ship that left here. And be a great little story. I think if we do put it out for a vote, I think I'd like to at least make sure people understand the history behind that name.
Yeah, there'd
For
have
the
to
vote.
be.
For the vote.
The thing that surprised me is that 911 thought Kaliva is hard to pronounce, but they didn't think Wapama was hard to pronounce.
Syllables.
Well,
It just kind of interesting is that, so there were several
after
important
reading
ships
about
built
the
in St.
Cleva Hotel, Councilor Sundin, we're getting away from that.
There were several important ships built in St. Helens, but the Wapama was actually the last surviving ship. So it was preserved for many years in San Francisco. It was a museum. You could go tour it. And in the end, they decided it was beyond saving and they couldn't preserve it anymore. So it was demolished. Not too awfully long ago, but there is a piece of it up in the museum. So if you go up to the courthouse, you can actually see one of the portholes from it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I think they still have like the monument down there, but yes, it's in the engine and stuff. Yeah, the whole ship though no longer exists, but anyway. Go to San Francisco, you can see it. It's at the National Maritime Museum.
It'll be a fun little piece to send out to community.
Anyway,
Let them vote on it.
so we need to then come up with the name, we need to settle on names too. So we need to settle on names to
Put in there 5,
Yeah.
no more than 5.
Wapama.
I want Wapama. That's what I know. I mean, does anybody else? Just kind of everybody pick one, I guess.
I would like to see Nail on there,
Okay.
not Nelly, but
I was, since you got that,
Okay.
Maybe I'll watch that tonight.
Then we have Dell,
Mhm.
we have Obama, we have Twilight, Council Berkeley.
You said Kaliva was nixed by
Well, they said consider avoiding. So they didn't just outright say avoid like they were for Nelly. They said consider avoiding, it's difficult to spell pronounce, possible addition spellings with a K versus C.
well, the way people spell now, anyway, anything, I don't know, that, Kaliva.
So I keep it in the.
I like it.
Kaliva,
I like it.
The last
Pretty
person.
funny name, I mean, it is.
because it represents.
That history is put. to the people.
If that one wins, we're gonna really know what our community likes.
Okay, and then Counselor Sunday, what name were you want to go with? 'Cause we're just gonna pick the 5 that we go with and put them up on a poll.
I think I like Nell and Wapama the best, but I'll throw in Lope just because.
Yep.
Crystal, is that good enough parameters for you? Okay.
When are you wanting to do you need a date and time certain to move forward?
Well, I mean, this is the public hearing. Unless, well, it depends. You wanna continue testimony?
That would be part of testimony, would be taking in public feedback, correct?
Yeah, we should probably continue it to date and time certain. And next meeting, yeah, I think it's too soon and we're gonna be talking about the House Bill 3115 recommendations and
We got time.
I would rather not have to worry about this at the same time as that.
What if we do this first?
Yeah.
We can.
So,
Yeah.
and there's, are there any hearings scheduled for that? May 3rd?
That could even be longer if it needed to be. Okay, so what is keep the public testimony open? We want to hear from the public. That's our announcement.
Yeah, we'll need a motion to continue to a date and time certain for formality purposes. Once we make sure we get the time. If there are no public hearings, do you want to do 6:30 again? Allow enough time for discussion? Or we can go 6:45.
No writing. Right.
Oh, we'll just do a 6:45. It's gonna be announced the winner.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Are we binding ourselves to we're not binding ourselves to the.
Well,
Yeah,
of course we are Steamboat McBoatface.
I mean, we're not, I mean, it's not gonna be, it's not.
We're not gonna allow for other options, and it's just between these 5 that maybe we could commit to the name.
Yeah.
Everyone gets selected, because these are all top ones that have been well thought about.
Yep, yep,
I don't think we have to say that, though, when
yeah.
the survey goes out, just allow yourself more wiggle room, would be my recommendation to you. And you can choose at the point that it goes to deliberations and if you
Sure, the
were to
city-
take the.
City needs help.
Yeah, we're just considering street names, these are the top 5 that this council likes, here's the history, please give us your feedback on.
That's good.
Better.
What date, what time?
So the motion would be to continue this hearing to May 3rd at 6:30. To allow time for community polling on Wapama, Nell, Twilight, Kaliba. And Lope. Well, just say as stated by staff is fine.
Okay, I'm making a motion that we consider the renaming of the Mill Street hearing.
Or continue it to a date and time certain,
Continue it to a date and time certain,
which is May 3rd.
May 3rd at 6:30.
I second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, not hearing any.
Sounds like.
Alright, right away vacation of block 92 and 95 of St. Helens subdivision. Pretty cut and dry, we're just trying to clean up some property. You explained it very well. Making the bluff hole. Any other deliberations on this?
Makes sense to, I mean, that's never going to be a through street. So vacate it. If it is developed, there might be some kind of, if, but anyway, yeah, I think it makes sense to vacate and dedicate the other.
Would you like a motion?
Yep.
I motion that we accept the Natalie vacation of lots 92, 95 of St. Helens subdivision.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded to approve the right of way vacation of 92 and 95. St. Helens subdivision and dedicate the right of way back. Oh, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Council President Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Sunday,
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well.
We'll have an ordinance to follow that up. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, awarding contract, award purchase of new vehicle for engineering division to Bud Clary Auto Group for $38,225.18.
Move we award purchase of new vehicle for engineering division to Bud Clary Auto Group for $38,255.18.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to award a new vehicle to the engineering department. Council President Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Sunday,
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Approve and authorize for signature for amendment number 1 to the agreement with OTAC CPM for project management of police station. 5, request for full reconveyance for community action team loan payoff at 2686 Columbia Boulevard, Osborne. 6, extension of contract with HASA Inc. for sodium hydrochloride for the wastewater treatment plant.
I move we approve and or authorize for signature items 4, 5, and 6 as read.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve and authorize for signatures 4 through 6. Council President Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Sunday,
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Appointments to city boards and commissions, appoint Eddie and Brady Preheim to the budget committee.
I'll move that we appoint Eddie Dunton and Brady Preheim to the budget committee.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve Eddie Dunton and Brady Preheim to the budget committee. Council President Chilton,
Aye.
okay, Councilor Sunday,
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Consent agenda for acceptance, 8 Parks and Recreation Commission minutes dated February 13th, 2023, Planning Commission minutes dated February 16th. 2023.
Well, I guess I'll motion to accept the consent agenda for acceptance for line items 8 and 9.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the Parks and Rec Commission minutes and the Planning Commission minutes. Council President Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Sunday,
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Consent agenda for approval. Council special session minutes dated February 8th, 2023. Joint City Council and Planning Commission minutes dated March 8th, 2023. 12, animal facility license. 13, seasonal public works maintenance worker job description. 14, seasonal park maintenance worker job description. What's the difference? Did I read that wrong?
Parks and Public
Parks and
Works.
Public Works.
Okay. 15 OLLC licenses. And 16 accounts payable bill list.
Move we approve consent agenda items 10 through 16 as read.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda 10 through 16. Council President. Councilor Sunbeam,
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley,
I,
I'm an aye as well too. Work session items, I don't believe we had maybe one thing, no, it was just a head nod earlier.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind bringing that back to, after it's drawn up, I think it was about the leashes.
Oh, the leashes.
Yeah, we
If it'll
talked
come
about-
back in the form of an ordinance at the first, do you want it before that?
No,
For first reading.
okay,
it's, and I'd say, I think, I don't know that Mr. Preheim, if he had heard, I think what the main purpose of this is it applies to the leash laws applying to city parks, not to the other areas, and it's to make it consistent because there's different lengths mentioned in the code, so it's to have one length 6 feet instead of
yeah,
5 feet, 16 feet.
only named one off.
And so, and then what,
Well, we named one off.
the only names one off,
There's three.
and there's, yeah, Heineken and Gray Cliffs, so that is simply, it does not change, the other, ability for, if I understand it. People that have their dogs, off leash, as long as they are not. I guess, as I understand, at large, that they're not out of control. So, it's mainly. Take things out, make it consistent.
Kind of, yes. Okay, so we have no work session items. Let's go with council member reports. Council President Chilton.
So we went to the city county dinner that we had recently. I'm sure we're all gonna mention that in our reports, but
I won't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I get to go first, so. I was really happy with the turnout. I sat next to Betsy Johnson, and that was really, I always love sitting next to her. She's always so edgy and she always has really great things to say. And yeah, I really enjoy her personality, but the room was full of community leaders, and it was really interesting to see that a lot of other cities in our county are dealing with some of the same infrastructure issues that we are. I was like, apparently we have all neglected it for a long time. So, but that made me feel a little bit better that we're all dealing with the same issues and possibly networking together to, solve our problems and still allow the county to grow. So some great things happening on the port. I'm excited about some changes that they have coming their way and some of the growth they're doing down there. So those are some takeaways from that for me. Softball is underway in town, so I've already sent emails to Buck. Just asking him about maintenance of the softball field. I'm on it, but he's on it too, so I appreciate it. And you guys will see me at Boise all the time now, Boise Fields and Campbell, splitting between the softball fields until the season is over, but I very happy to drive by Campbell and see all the girls out there at the park and getting back into the swing of things, so it's nice to see. Shauna Duggan actually reached out to me recently and invited me to join the Columbia County Leader Child Care Task Force. So I'm going to go to that meeting in a couple weeks. Very excited about that. Childcare is an issue, across the nation, but it hits home even in our little community. And as a mom with kids in daycare, I know how hard it is to have childcare. So I'm interested to see what things they're working on and how I can help them. And then Easter's this weekend, so everyone get your egg hunts. I'll be up at the mega Easter egg hunt, and hopefully it's not too muddy, but that's what that's.
Participate.
I know, my husband may be carrying the baby around, so we'll see about that, but it's funny because I was sitting next to Betsy at that dinner, and she was talking about, she's always one of the speakers for that. And she's like, yeah, I have to tell those kids or those parents to stay out of there and stop stealing the eggs from their kids. I'm like, oh, I have grabbed a couple eggs for my 2-year-old one year, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah. That's what I'm up to.
Alright. Council Sunday,
You don't have a lot to report on. Sorry, I'm not there in person. I've caught whatever has been going around, so. I too enjoyed the city and county dinner. Enjoyed getting to see some familiar faces, but also meet people that I didn't know and really had no idea what they do. So it was just kind of fun to get to know people and sit with a different crowd than maybe I normally do. So I enjoyed it. Had the opportunity to meet with a couple board members from the PUD. That was also a good discussion. So just talking about some of our common goals and some of the things that they're working on currently. Also met with Chief Greenway and Buck Tupper over the last couple weeks just to get a update on how things are going with parks and how things are going with the police department. And again, just want to thank both those groups for the work that they're doing. A lot of it kind of behind the scenes, a lot of things that we don't see that are going on, but appreciate both those groups. One of the things that Buck and I did is that we walked around in McCormick Park. So talking about Nellie McCormick again, most of you probably know McCormick Park was the country estate of the McCormick family. So they lived downtown, and when they wanted to get out of town, they went to their 70+ acre estate at McCormick Park. So Nellie McCormick maintained a Japanese garden in that area for many years, and it's been neglected for probably 20 years now. So a couple members of the Parks Commission have been working to kind of revive that area and get it looking better, hopefully giving maybe some tours during Citizens Day. So I met with Buck. He's going to get the work crew working in that area, get some of the blackberry bushes removed, and see what we can do to get that area of the park looking better. Have also been involved in conversations with Jenny Dimshow on starting to talk about the restoration of the Warrior Rock Lighthouse replica near Columbia View Park, right as you go to the docks. So hopefully planning to make it look a little more historically accurate and provide some signage there, letting people know what it is and why it's significant. So that's been kind of a fun project too. I also appreciate Aaron's remarks earlier about parking. I have had a couple complaints over the last couple of weeks about parking, wanting to know what the city's going to do with parking downtown and what are people that live downtown supposed to do? Where are they supposed to park because they've been getting ticketed? So I think that's an important conversation that we're going to need to have going forward. And I think not just in the near future, but looking ahead too, I think parking is going to be important, and we're going to have to come up with a parking solution, whether it's a parking lot or whatever it might be. But if we're going to continue to have events like Halloween Town and have people down there for the 4th of July, I think parking is going to be a topic for a few years to come. So I think that's all I've got though. So thank you.
thank you. You could attend at least via Zoom. Thank you. Councilor Gunderson.
I also don't have a whole lot to report since the planning commission will happen next week, so I'm kind of off a week. We were working, I was really hoping, and I think that has happened, that the planning commission and I think Jacob's gotten a hold of our community partners and have a better understanding of what our homeless situation really is, and it's not just I don't see this mega move of people home moving from St. Helens, just don't see that. And so I kind of know what the planning commission's got coming up. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, so I'll let them do all that when we have our joint session. But I think it's coming together pretty well, really. What are you saying now? Given the complexity of the issues.
Yeah, it's closer.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's closer than it ever has. There might be some tug of war.
Oh, there will. Well, that's fair.
Doesn't mean.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Bells
That's my iced tea jug. I'll just leave it there.
Are you done? I was done a while ago. That's a birthday.
Okay, before I forget, Council President, Chilton, Representative, Michi has taken, the childcare issue on as a, strong advocate, so congratulations on being invited to that task force, but whatever conversation comes in, I think if there were outreach to her office, her local office, you would find, strong supporter for addressing those issues. So reach out, and she's very acceptable about that issue, so. Yeah, so let's see, the library board, after a couple of false starts, was able to have a meeting. We didn't have quorum a couple of times for personal personal family emergencies, etc. Anyway, brief meeting on Monday, just to talk about planning, strategizing for the new strategic plan. So the regular board meeting is coming up next week. But that's the main focus right now is on updating their strategic plan. Continue to be very impressed with Stan Bishop's leadership and work with the staff at the library. Let's see, helped pull Ivy at Nob Hill on Saturday again.
He pulled over by the rec center one day and he's like got his full like rain gear on. I was like, what's he doing over there?
Oh, at the rec center? Oh, that,
Right there?
yeah, well, I was trying to hit every park or a natural area, and I know that, the Boise property to document the native flowers blooming. And right now we've got the trillium. Fawn lilies are coming up, the daylilies, camas. I think the cold weather might be keeping the camas. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing. And if you go up to, there's an app anyone can download for free, iNaturalist. You can take pictures and add them to the citizen science project about what's what. Anyway, so yeah, that's why you saw me there. Took advantage of spring break last week, no students to hit the parks. I also then was able to take advantage to spend some time with Dave Elder in Public Works and felt like a little kid again. Got to actually go into the pump stations there in Columbia City, where we get the water and all, and then into the pump station there by the transit center. And just again, even though I've looked at I've seen all these maps about the water and the sewer and all that, it was just really neat getting down into those buildings and seeing what's going on, and just the great work that Public Works is doing to maintain those facilities and keep us in good water. And then that was followed up by a tour with our city engineer, one of our city engineers, Alex Bird, walking through the construction site. Again, it was good, I think, for me to be walking along with him and looking at what's going on, rather than just peering across the fence to understand the scope of the work. And like, for instance, I had the new pump station on the wrong side of the Nob Hill stairs. I had it on the south side. It's going to be on the north side of the stairs. So anyway, that was just it was good to know, and just to just picture what a wonderful place that is eventually all going to be when it comes together. So thanks to Alex and Dave for doing that. I did enjoy the city county dinner. Was good to meet with a lot of other people, especially Columbia City. We had I took my third grade class for we had their city administrator come to our third grade classes to talk about city government, and then we had a tour of Columbia City's Public Works and their city halls. So they're good neighbors. Yeah, Easter's coming up, but also I think as of sundown tonight, past the official observance of Passover. Began and lasts for a week, and we are also in the midst of the celebration of Ramadan. So I hope that all folks who celebrate these events and these holidays are able to gather with family and friends and benefit from that.
Nice, thank you. All right, well, spring is in, it feels like spring's not even trying, it's like. Come on.
Come on, spring.
You can hear the sea lions down here. There's just a lot of life on the Splendor River right now with all the smelt inside of that river, historical runs. If you're wondering, that's what they're mainly feeding on. They are eating on other fish, but mainly just the smelt and all the seagulls and. Was able to meet with Habitat for Humanity today, met with Jennifer, Ricky there at Grocery Outlet, and I want to say his wife's name is Kate. They supplied the house that the gal is moving in tomorrow with groceries, and it's they just wanted to express their gratitude to the city council for us being able to waive our in lieu of sidewalk fee, because it would have been a deal breaker on their buildings over there. And they have 3 units over there on those 2 lots, and it kind of completed the street. Like I said, the tour of the house, and then I walked out. They have a big long driveway, concrete driveway. The deer had walked through it when it was wet. I know. Yeah, it does look cool, and you can even see when they did like a circle. Tack, and it's just, yeah.
What is this weird?
Yeah, so, but she wanted me to, let everybody know that, they also have some interest in if we need help down the road with, Dow's has done some projects that are little cubicles. They're moving to Vernonia now, but, especially Dow's puts these up apparently in the winter time for people if they needed them. It's just something to think about, and she said, I don't know that it fits here, but it's something that we as Habitat for Humanity could help out with, and I said, yes, that's absolutely, maybe something we look at, because a private can do it way cheaper than a public. City County dinner was great. It was good to see a lot of old friends, a lot of new counselors. And just get that camaraderie going back, and it's coming to us next. We gotta start thinking and putting together an agenda for that. I want to see Senator Weber. I talked to him. Talk to Rachel just a little bit, but I'd like to see a Senator Weber. We come out and be our guest speaker for that. So we need to start thinking about that and venues and how we're going to host, because it's our turn next. Was able to get a call 2 Tuesdays ago at 7:30 at night that the governor was going to be in town the next day, and she'd like to have lunch with me at the Bangkok over here. All the wine I had, and so he was on a listening tour. We were the 3rd county. I asked her when I first seen her, I went in the parking lot. She hopped out. I asked her what was she doing in the area. She had been at CCMH earlier and was going to community action afterwards. And so when we had lunch, but I was able to talk about our waterfront redevelopment. I was able to talk about our ask for the water tank, the $1 million, plug that, was talking about our housing needs analysis, because she's big on that, that we have that done, and she loved that. She was a big supporter of Main Street. I was able to take and show her the movie theater, what the $200,000 was spent and what it did, kiosk, and we actually have pictures of us out front there. took her inside, was able to take her down to which our next Main Street grant is the Klondike, and they're actually roofing that same day, so. There's part of the money being spent. I told her it's an old historical hotel that they're trying to bring back, and it kind of will be shared bathrooms because it's that old of a hotel. And then talked about the other grants that we have for Main Street. I was very pleasantly surprised, you know, you put somebody in a box because you hear all these things. And then when you meet somebody and the demeanor and is not exactly what you expected. And I was grateful that she reached out and asked me to lunch. So it was good for our community to show off our waterfront development. I do think that it probably did put us in the eyes of people that wouldn't have been. And you know, yeah, so her tour continues on for 33 more counties. And I think it's very encouraging to have somebody just being open and not doing a lot. She's put 200 towards homelessness, but you think about that, it's an issue, right? And what else has she done? She's listening, and then she's gonna start making some moves. I'm optimistic that she's the right person, so time will tell, but I definitely appreciate her taking the time with me and learning about our city. It was truly an honor. So yeah, that was the highlight of my, it's not every day you get a call the night before that the governor would like to have lunch with you. Then you gotta try to prepare and think about all what you have going on. And you know, we've done so much planning here at the city. And you know, to try to get ready for moments like we have right now. And you know, I'm feeling good about Senator Weber and that hopefully you said you had some contact today on that. All the questions on that, or what was it?
Oh, it was just funding and financing.
Yes, yes.
Oh, and the call, yeah,
The million, yeah.
right, the call.
The million.
Support.
Yes, the call for support, so. Yeah, I think it all matters, and what I got from that city county dinner was that a lot of people were grateful that were upset that they didn't get notified, but we're grateful that I was able to show her our area because we're ready to move. Columbia County is ready to move. We got a lot of different projects that are ready to happen, and it matters. So what we do, and it's called collaboration. And I don't ever believe there should be any winning in government, only compromise. Everybody's been trying to win for years, and we've all been sitting here getting screwed, so to speak. You know, and until we start actually compromising with one another and trying to understand rather than be understood all the time, and we can move this thing forward. So definitely very optimistic, and I know we've done a lot of work, and we're going to continue to do a lot of work. And I would love to address this parking issue with this council right now to make sure that the staff does everything humanly possible to open up that waterfront with big signs that says temporary parking, construction 2-hour temporary parking. Keep it to 2 hours. Just that open over there. If you have to police it, chalk it. It has to be, me and Cutterson, we actually heard it from, we just went to lunch. And what did we hear, Mark? Dinner. What did we hear? So, yes. And how many people? I think it was Dave and that gal.
It was another one, the three. Of
3 within a half hour.
course, you do everybody in the building.
Well, yeah, I always get the brunt of it. That's what I'm trying to say is I always get this. And it's not fair to me to get 100 emails and 100 phone calls when we can open up a fence and put a temporary sign.
I was having nightmares about this 6 months ago, just for the record, okay?
That's one of the solutions.
So we did literally get 3, you're right, we did get three different people came up to us about parking. In my short half hour. It's an issue. So let's make sure that that happens maybe tomorrow morning. At all costs, we need to make that happen. And that's all I got. We are adjourned.